Thursday Night Lights. I hope everybody's doing well. Thursday Night Lights is a online group class that we do every single Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. So thank you for joining me. I am Joshua the Psychic. For those who do not know me, I'm a psychic astrologer and I do readings, coaching, etc. And more information about my services can be found on my website, psychicsun.com. The link to that is in the description below. And you can actually find horoscopes for the latest lunation on my website too, psychicsun.com/news. The link to that is also in the description below. So tonight, we're going to talk about Jupiter in Gemini. This is exciting. So Jupiter spends about a year in each sign, and that makes that sign the celestial favorite for the year, which is pretty cool. So if you're a Gemini, or you have very strong Gemini in your chart, you are in luck, literally, because Jupiter is the planet of luck, expansion, growth, prosperity, wisdom. So all Gemini things under this transit are going to thrive. In fact, just a few days before Jupiter enters Gemini, Venus, which is the lesser benefic, will enter Gemini. So you're going to have the two planets that are most known for blessings in Gemini, along with the sun. So around May 25th, if you have planets at the late degrees of Taurus, say 26 degrees of Taurus to, I would go all the way up to at least 6 degrees of Gemini, it's going to be a very auspicious time for you, a very, very good time for you. Hello, Fiery 154. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. So we have a lot of blessings in those early degrees of Gemini. So find out where you have 0 degrees Gemini, 1 degree Gemini, any early degrees of Gemini in your chart, because those areas are going to be, that area is going to be lit up with lots of blessings. So definitely capitalize on that. Hey, Casmar, nice to see you. Thanks for joining. So we have Venus in that area of your chart, the early degrees. So lots of blessings, lots of blessings. So let's talk about Jupiter. Jupiter is huge, right? Biggest planet, and it's known as the greater benefic in astrology, meaning it brings lots and lots of blessings. Its influence is overwhelmingly positive, and it brings expansion and blessings to the aspects it touches. So the thing is with Jupiter, that it expands whatever it touches, for good or bad. Usually, this is a good thing. However, Jupiter can be at times a little overindulgent, and it can expand things that you may not want it to expand. For instance, the first house in astrology rules the body, right? And if Jupiter is in your first house, you may grow and expand in girth. That's one of the things that you could experience if you have Jupiter transiting your first house. If it's in your 8th house, which pertains to debt, your debt could increase. So you have to be careful with Jupiter and just be cognizant of where it's transiting in your chart, and just to keep an eye on things so they don't get out of hand. The cake is really, really good, but too much of the cake is going to give you a headache. So it will expand whatever it touches. And the fact that it's going to be so close to Venus around May 25th is just so nice. It's going to be so many blessings. So really focus and see how you can make the most of it. And we're going to talk about that tonight for every single sign. So Gemini is, you could say, opposite to Jupiter. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. Gemini is the opposite of Sag. So because the ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter, and Gemini is the opposite of Sagittarius, Jupiter is in detriment or exile in Gemini. So Jupiter's not happy in Gemini at all, right? Jupiter wants to expand. It wants to be very Sagittarius. It wants to explore. It wants to go in depth. Whereas Gemini is ruled by Mercury. And Mercury wants to get you from here to here, or here to there. Think of Gemini as the grade school teacher. And grade school teachers, typically, they teach multiple subjects. They teach reading or phonics, and they teach math and they teach geography. Whereas Sagittarius or Jupiter is the professor. They're able to be the expert in a field. They're able to go in depth in one main subject. Whereas Gemini does not have the patience to do that. Gemini is known for being scatterbrained, a little all over the place, right? So it's not one being better than the other. It's just a different form of intelligence. Gemini is jack of all trades, whereas Sagittarius may be master of one. Sagittarius loves to explore, but they're not going to be all over the place, right? So we see how this can be a little bit of a challenge. Gemini is characterized by adaptability and curiosity, and Jupiter is characterized by its expansive nature. And in Gemini, Jupiter, as we said, is detriment, where its broad focus and philosophical inclinations struggle with Gemini's preference for variety and detail. Essentially, Gemini gets bored very, very easily and wants to know the minutiae. And Sagittarius, Jupiter, they really couldn't be bothered with that. They just don't see it as very deep. You could see, in some respects, Gemini being more of a shallow or more of a cursory overview, whereas Sagittarius wants to go in depth and wants to explore. So this placement is going to be challenging because Jupiter needs to find depth in Gemini's breadth of interest. So how do we do this? How do we balance this Jupiter and Gemini energy? Since Jupiter seeks expansion and wisdom, while Gemini focuses on versatility and information gathering, we have to look at how we're going to be able to explore and expand the Gemini energy, right? So Gemini is all about learning. It's about chit chat. It's about conversations. It's about being smart. It pertains to a lot of things. Your siblings. So siblings could be a big issue for all of us. We may expand in terms of getting siblings. Maybe we may have something happen to one of our siblings that makes them bigger, right? So there's going to be a theme of siblings, but also short trips, local travel, and really it's all about curiosity. So there's going to be a lot of information, so much information. You think you're glutted with information now? Well, throughout this transit, there's going to be a lot more information. And what's going to be important for all of us is discernment. You got to learn what is worth your time and what is not. So we have to be careful in our management of Gemini's tendency to disperse information and spread ourselves too thin. So there's going to be a lot more information coming up. And as a result, we're going to have to be more discriminating. What are you going to listen to? What are you going to tune out? Because our brains can only take so much, right? So keywords for Jupiter to give you a better idea: expansion, going bigger, better, more, growth, prosperity, wisdom, optimism, abundance, exploration, philosophy. Whereas Gemini is about communication, adaptability. It's going to be important for all of us through Jupiter's transit in Gemini to adapt and to be versatile. In fact, if there is ever a time for you to get a side hustle in play, now would be it. Or May 25th onward for the rest of the year would be it. Because remember, Gemini is the twins. It's a dual sign. So you want to think in terms of duality. What two things can you do? How can you balance opposites? Curiosity is going to be very, very big. So when Jupiter was in Taurus, Taurus is a very fixed sign. This is the way it is. Gemini is going to be more like, oh, is that the way it is for you? That's interesting. It's the way it is for this person. Whereas before with Jupiter in Taurus, there was more of a tendency to pontificate. Whereas with Gemini, Jupiter and Gemini, it's going to be more about intellectual curiosity and that level of debate without there being a certain level of attachment that Taurus might have with its ideals and mores, right? So if you were in high school, maybe you had debate club. And if you were in a good debate club, you would debate one side of the discussion, right? But then you would do the opposite. And that is really key. And that's very, very Gemini, right? Because you want to be able to understand both sides of things. And that's what Gemini is going to help us do. Oh, you just got a private speech therapy client? Well, that's perfect for Jupiter, about ready to enter Gemini. And it's about curiosity. Gemini is very, very curious. So it's a matter of understanding where other people are coming from and listening to their point of view, if only to get a better understanding of your own. Versatility. Again, we want to be flexible and versatile with this Gemini placement. Intellect. Gemini is very smart. So there might be a lot of interests. Social, Gemini is very, very social. They love doing things. Typically, Gemini does not want to go grab a coffee by himself. He wants to bring a friend along with him so they can chat. Quick-witted, Gemini is very fast, ruled by Mercury, and it's very diverse. So if we can connect these Jupiter energies, how can we expand our curiosity? How can we grow our intellect? How can we diversify our philosophy, right? So think of it that way, and that will help. Additionally, you want to embrace learning and networking and other Gemini things, short distance travels, communications, versatility, etc., while being wary of overextension. So the problem is that we can get caught in the weeds, right? Think of it as you're cleaning your house. You have to clean your house, right? But you're getting stuck in the dust, say, between the radiator slots. And you're spending like an hour pulling the dust and cleaning the dust in the radiator slots. Well, meanwhile, the rest of your house is a complete mess. You don't want to get caught up in the minutia, right? Because again, Jupiter expands whatever it touches. If Gemini is concerned with the details, we can get too focused on the details and miss the forest from the trees. So we want to focus on meaningful engagements to fully benefit from this transit. Another example is you could get caught in a conversation with somebody that means absolutely nothing to you at all. You get caught up in this conversation about, like, say, bread. And you're talking, and before you know it, it's been an hour and a half. You don't care about bread. Bread is not part of your big picture. It's not part of your goals. You really don't care that much about it. It exists. It's not like you don't like bread, but it's not a big deal. But you get caught in this conversation about bread, and before you know it, you've wasted way too much time talking about something that doesn't matter to you. So I feel like with Jupiter and Uranus in the sign of Taurus, we at this point have gotten really clear, I hope, on our values. This is what matters to me. And that's going to be very important for us to utilize when Jupiter is in Gemini. We got to understand what we care about, what is our top tier priorities, and making sure that we're focused, because you don't want to be spending too much time on things that absolutely do not matter to you at the end of the day. So yes, you want to make sure that you're focusing on whatever it is you want. So we're going to go through the signs of where Jupiter is transiting in your chart. Again, this is just general. So for instance, you could have Gemini in your 4th house, but actually your 4th house starts at Taurus, right? So if that's the case, let's say Gemini for you actually might be in your 5th house, even if you are an Aquarius rising, let's say, right? So you want to check and to see where the degrees are, but these are going to be general. And I do think that the sun sign does play a big part of it too. So look for your sign, rising sign, as well as your moon sign if you're so inclined. So Aries, Jupiter and Gemini is going to be transiting your 3rd house of communication, and that's Gemini's house. So essentially, Aries, you want to, over the next year, play up the positive Gemini traits. You want to diversify your interests. You want to be curious, but you also want to watch out for being flighty, going overboard on things that really don't matter, stuff like that. So when you have Jupiter in Gemini transiting your 3rd, you're going to have a boost in learning and networking. So you're probably going to be learning a lot more over the next year. There's going to be a lot of information coming at you. So you got to really discriminate and discern what matters. You got to tune out the noise, because there's going to be a lot of noise. Aries, you're probably going to get a lot of invitations. There's going to be a lot of conversations that you could get pulled into. So you want to be discerning. Embrace conversations, embrace short courses, or even local travels. This is a great time for Aries to benefit from going on short distance travels, i.e. LA to San Diego, Manhattan to Queens, stuff like that, as opposed to London to LA. So watch out for Jupiter's excess, which could lead to overcommitment. It's like you can't do it all. And Aries has a tendency to overestimate its abilities, just like Sagittarius. So just know that your very smart brain also has its limits. And if you overcommit, you'll scatter your energies. So you want to focus on clarity. What matters to you? Where are you going to put your attention? So you're going to benefit so much, Aries, over the next year through networking. Definitely get out there more. Again, you want to be like an expert Gemini. Learning, lots of learning could be very, very good for you. It could really enrich your life. Short trips, as we mentioned, definitely take some different trips in and around your area. They could be very prosperous for you. And conversations, you never know what might come up out of the blue in a conversation. So that should be really good, cool for you, actually, Aries. So Taurus, this transit of Jupiter and Gemini will be hitting your second house of finances. This is the house that your sign rules. So you can expect an increase in resource acquisition. That's really nice. And also financial opportunities. So you may want to explore new investment avenues or budget strategies. A key word for Gemini is diversification. So you may want to diversify your investments, whatever that means to you. You also do have to be aware of Jupiter's inclination for extravagance because it's going to be in your second house. It could lead to overspending. So it's a good idea for you to prioritize financial planning. So asset acquisition, you could be getting lots of nice things. This is a very good time for you to save since you could be making a lot of money and you want to put it away for a rainy day. Investments, diversify your investments, and budgeting. You want to budget because, again, the second house also pertains to what we value and what we might spend money on, right? So if you create a budget in place and you say, okay, well, this is my play money, this is my entertainment fund, then you don't have to worry. And then you can enjoy Jupiter in your second house without breaking the bank and feeling guilty about it, right? So enjoy that, Taurus. So Gemini, you are the star of the show with Jupiter in your first house. You are going to be the celestial favorite. Lots of luck for you this transit as Jupiter and Gemini transit your first house of self. So you are getting bigger. And I would say if you don't want to gain weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, then don't wait, D-W-A-I-T, to do what it is that you may want to do. Oftentimes when we're waiting, W-A-I-T-I-N-G, we gain weight. So think about what has been on your mind for a while. Oh, I really should do this, but I don't know if it's time. Well, you don't want to wait or you'll gain weight. But it's a nice time for you. It's a very good time. You might want to embrace in self-discovery missions, maybe exploring your personality. And also, the first house is the package that you present to the world. It's how you show up. It's how you dress. It's your mannerisms. It's your hairstyle. And there could be some really great things for you in regard to that. Because the first house is how you show up. So it's your personal branding, not just in terms of business, how you present yourself to prospects or the people that you work with, but also even dating and romance and friends, right? How are you showing up? How are you introducing yourself? How are you presenting yourself to the world? Because there could be some really great things there. In fact, because you have Jupiter in your first house, your aura is going to be very, very big. So make sure that you're keeping very positive about things and that you have an understanding of your brand statement in your brain. Like, what do you represent? What are you all about? A challenge might be Jupiter can foster overconfidence, especially physically. So be sure to Just watch yourself. You don't want to push yourself too hard physically, for instance. And you also don't want to write a check that your ass can't cash, right? So Gemini has a tendency to sometimes speak before they think. That could be a problem during this period. So just get focused. You also just want to maintain realistic expectations. At the same time, you want to expand. So whatever it is that you want to achieve in the world, you have to be the size of that. So keep getting bigger. Keep getting bigger. Focus on expansion and growth, and the opportunities will come your way. Keep self-aware and balance things. You could be focused a lot more on yourself, of course, over the next year. So balance that with awareness and consideration for the others in your life, especially your partners and your relationships. So it's a wonderful time for you. New beginnings, a great time for you to express yourself. Good time for you to brand yourself for whatever it is that you want, whether you're looking to get married or you're looking for that awesome job. And really, it's all about self-discovery, exploring who you are and understanding more about the wonder of you. A team with a plan wins. A budget is your planet will help you win. I love that. Yes. Hi, Sin. Nice to see you. So, yes, Gemini is the celestial favorite. You should be doing very well if you have strong Gemini in your chart. So, Cancer, Jupiter in Gemini is going to be hitting your 12th house of the subconscious. I think you'll like it. I mean, this is a time of nesting and resting for you over the next year, more than usual. It's not like you're never going to get out of bed, but you may want more sleep over the next year. And actually, that sleep could actually be very advantageous to you because much goes on when you sleep. Like a lot of healing, you can program your subconscious. So expect deeper introspection and spiritual growth. If you're in the need of understanding your spirituality or coming up with some sense of faith, this is a wonderful time for it. I think it's typically a good idea to believe in something bigger than yourself so you can surrender to that, be it God, Buddha, love, whatever it might be. You want to engage in meditation or any healing methodologies because this is a great time in which you can change your beliefs about yourself, and that's really everything. I mean, the 12th house can be criminally undervalued for what its effect can be on your life. So you want to embrace anything that can help you to heal your brain, your subconscious, your beliefs. First, you make your beliefs, and then your beliefs make you. So consider, Cancer, what you want to impress upon your subconscious mind. Because when Jupiter then enters your sign next year, you want it to feel good. You want it to feel natural. So for instance, let's just look at it this way. Say you want to get married, right? And you have certain ideals for who it is that you want to marry, the type of man that you want to marry, let's say. You want to use this year, Cancer, to see that happening, like visualize it, know that you're worth getting what it is that you want, etc. And then when Jupiter hits your first house next year, it's going to be matter of course, it's going to be natural. So for Cancer, this is a very significant transit. And you don't want to give yourself the luxury of a negative thought if you can help it. Because remember, whatever Jupiter touches, it makes bigger. So if you have a negative thought, it is going to grow, right? So you want to just keep that in mind. Additionally, Cancer, be wary of Jupiter's tendency to amplify fears or illusions. That could be a 12th house thing. You don't want to get confused. So it's clarity. Clarity for the win. Because your subconscious is really activated. I would say, Cancer, honestly, this is going to be a great time for you to journal. Definitely meditate. It's a time that you can gain through introspection, meditation, spiritual practices, and emotional healing. So heal over the next year, Cancer, because when Jupiter enters your sign, you are up. You are going to be the celestial favorite, and there's going to be a lot of things that you can manifest. So train your subconscious now and look forward to next year. So Leo, this is a nice transit for you, Leo. Jupiter in Gemini will be transiting your 11th house of hopes, dreams, wishes, ideals. friendships, community, like-minded people. So you may expand your social circle over the next year. You may grow through a friend or your group of friends. And also, if you have a hope or dream or wish or an ideal, that can be empowered during this time. Also, I would say, Leo, the 11th house has to do with gains, like big lump sums of money. Say the second house is the check that you get every week from your job. The 11th house would be a big lump sum of money that you get in one fell swoop. So, because you have Jupiter there, I would create something that allows people to give you a big lump sum of money. What might that be, right? Because you can make a lot of gains this year with Jupiter in your 11th. So don't miss out on that. It's a great time for you to engage in community. A lot can be gained from community, from your friends, networking. Networking could be very advantageous to you. So just be aware of Jupiter's optimism, which could lead to disappointments with unrealistic group goals in particular. And I would say that you want to go after your dreams, but you may want to be flexible in the timeline you assign to your goals, right? Because we could be a little bit overly optimistic when Jupiter's in the 11th. I would also say, you don't want to spread yourself too thin, because the group can be very beneficial to you, but not too much. So think social leadership. You're a leader, Leo. So how might you lead a community? Think friendships, lots of gains through your friendships, your biggest hopes, dreams, wishes, and ideals, and collaborative ventures. And this could be very, very good for you, Leo. So enjoy Jupiter transiting your 11th. So Virgo, this is nice for you, Virgo. Jupiter and Gemini will transit your 10th house of status, position, and honors. So you can expect advancements in your professional life. If you're looking to go to that next level in your career, well, this might be the year for it. So embrace new career opportunities, leadership goals. You may want to be aware of Jupiter making you overly ambitious and too much of a leader, i.e. not delegating as much as you ought to, or taking on way more than you are capable of taking on. Typically, Virgo doesn't do that. Typically, Virgo is very discriminating, and often they underestimate what they're capable of doing at times just because they want to make sure they do a good job. But you don't want to overdo it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself professionally, because that could strain your professional relationships. And you want to aim for some kind of work-life balance, because you're going to be hyper ambitious, most likely. So don't bite off more than you can chew professionally, but definitely go to that next level. So you can expect career growth over the next year, Virgo, professional recognition, enhancing your skills, which will bring you more status and more money, and also workplace efficiency. Like, how can you, if you have professional goals, how can you streamline those goals in the day-to-day operations, your nuts and bolts day-to-day operations, which Virgo, you're very, very good at. So you should really enjoy that. So Libra, Jupiter and Gemini will be transiting your 9th house of higher learning and travel. This is your higher mind. So you can expect broader horizons and a desire to broaden your horizons over the next year. You may want to go on a trip across the world. You might want to go to a foreign country. You may also want to go and do a deep dive into a subject. Maybe you'll go back to school. Maybe you'll learn something new. But you want to explore distant places or study new subjects. Because if you do, you're going to get a lot of gain. It's going to be a lot of luck if you go on foreign soil this year, and if you do a deep dive into a subject, be it spirituality, religion, philosophy, law, etc. Just beware of Jupiter's excess in wanderlust, because then you might be neglecting what you have right in front of you, right? Because if you think about it, when you have Jupiter in the 9th house, it's like you can be very almost too Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is a wanderer, right? They're always into like, okay, what's the next flavor of the month or the week? Even if they don't admit it, they are wanderers by their very nature. So know where you want to zone in and where you want to zoom out. I also would say manage your time wisely, because I feel like with Jupiter in the ninth house, you could get caught up, right? You could get caught up in a space that takes over your life. So I would say if you are going to study a new subject, again, think about it through a Gemini lens. All right, how many hours do I have in the week? How many hours can I devote to this? Just look at it from a more Gemini perspective, really. So higher education might be big for you, Libra, over the next year. Exploring different cultures. Again, that's going to be very educational, understanding other people and how they live. Any philosophical studies and travel. Just foreign travel or long distance travel is going to be very good for you. And if you're looking for a mate, if you're looking for a new job or some new friends or even a new lease on life, foreign travel might be really good for you. The ninth house has to do with a leap of faith. So this could also be, Libra, a time in which you embrace some entrepreneurial opportunities, because the ninth house also pertains to entrepreneurship. So Scorpio, this transit of Jupiter and Gemini will be hitting a house that is very familiar to you, the eighth house, the house that your sign is associated with, the house of death, rebirth, transformation. So you can expect profound changes this year and deeper emotional connections, right? Scorpio gains energy and power from merging, right? Scorpio is all about boundaries. So you may be expanding your boundaries and saying you might be saying no more often, or you might be saying yes to certain things, and those things that you say yes to are going to help you grow. Likewise, those things that you say no to will help you grow as well. So we always say, as the rule of thumb, if something makes you feel good, well, lean in closer. Dissolve your boundary. If something upsets you or makes you feel bad, erect a boundary. So you may want to, Scorpio, since this is an intense time for you over the next year, engage in transformative experiences. This might be art therapy. You might want to combine resources with somebody else and go into business. And because it's an eighth house transit, it might be intense. So you don't want to overwhelm yourself. You want to watch out for being too Scorpio here. What would be too Scorpio? I would say being too Scorpio might be very quickly amputating relationships. Like done, dead, right? Which you probably won't do because you are stable, fixed sign. But I would also say, you don't want to be experiencing your emotions to the nth degree all the time, right? So just keep that in mind. Scorpio needs to watch out for being too Scorpio over the next year with Gemini transiting its eighth house. So think emotional bonds. That could be really good. And transformative experiences. You want to just approach your changes judiciously because you are going to be going through this eighth house transit. You're going to be transformation happy, change happy in a lot of ways. But you want to, think about the long term and really just sketch out a strategy. Again, financial partnerships could be very advantageous to you. And really deep introspection as well. Understanding why you do the things you do. Profound psychological healing. You have a tendency to get overwhelmed with your projects. I see. Okay. Well, I would say with that, it's a matter of you're bigger than all your projects, right? And you also, what they might say with something like that is you want to keep up with your expansion. So sometimes we have a goal, right? And we put the goal into effect and we start manifesting and it happens, but we're not growing along. We're not keeping up with our expansion. So remember that whatever it is that you want, you have to also grow, right? So I would just remind yourself, you're huge. You're huge. You're way bigger than your problems. You're way bigger than these projects. And I think that if you can reverse engineer it in your mind, you might even want to visualize, You know, these different projects you have, just really shrink them. Remember that movie like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? You can shrink your projects and just visualize them being really, really, really tiny, teeny tiny and small, right? And then you're this gigantic person who's handling these projects. And if you keep visualizing that, I think that they actually might become a lot more manageable. So keep that in mind. I hope that helps. Sagittarius. Oh boy, Sagittarius, you're going to be okay. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Oh, thank you very much, Casmar. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. You're remodeling your house? Oh, okay. Well, you may have Jupiter in your fourth, because that's a very fourth house thing. Jupiter in your fourth. Interesting. So Sagittarius, you got Jupiter transiting your seventh house. It's in your opposite sign of partnerships. So you may find yourself really gaining through your partners. So you can expect growth in your personal and business relationships. You're very lucky when it comes to partners. You could say, I want the perfect boyfriend. I want the perfect therapist. I want the perfect tennis coach. And you could get it. So you're very blessed when it comes to partnerships this year. So expect growth through and in your personal and business relationships. Definitely embrace collabs. Definitely embrace collaborations over the next year and new agreements, because the seventh house also pertains to partnerships. The challenge might be is that Jupiter in your seventh can induce either too many partners, or it could be an over-reliance on some partners, and that might disrupt balance, right? So you want to cultivate independence alongside your partnerships. And again, look at your goals, look at your values, and allow yourself to make decisions based upon those. If we learn nothing with Jupiter in Taurus and Uranus in Taurus, which is still there, our values may have changed. So it's a good idea for you to really look and see what you want your life to be made of, what matters to you, and then make decisions based on that when it comes to your partnerships, because you're going to have a lot of opportunities and you don't want to partner up with somebody whose goals are not aligned with yours, right? So this is a great year for you in terms of relationships, partnerships, agreements, if you're looking for a new contract, and collaborations. That could be very good for you. And Capricorn. So Capricorn, this is hitting your sixth house. Jupiter in Gemini will be hitting your sixth house of health and service. This is your day-to-day operations. This is your habits, your routines, your systems, your processes. So this is a wonderful time for you to improve your health routines and also how you give service. So essentially, Capricorn, this is a wonderful time for you to really streamline your life and get it running like a well-oiled machine. It's also a really great time for you to gain through healthy activities, wellness programs. And if you're looking for work, well, you're going to be very blessed on the work front. If you're not happy at your job, Capricorn, this is your time to look for a new one. Because if Jupiter, alongside Venus, I might add, in May, are going to be transiting your sixth, do not suffer. It is not necessary. Definitely go out on a limb and try to find new work because you have Jupiter in your sixth. So there's no reason at all for you to be miserable in your work environment. In fact, if you don't want to leave your job, well, you can actually make improvements to the job that you're in by talking to your direct report, etc. If you are an independent contractor, well, you're going to be a very busy bee, which is nice. Also, you may want to get involved in some volunteer work. The sixth house does pertain to service, and that could be very enriching for you. Just be careful of Jupiter's tendency to overdo things. You don't want to overcommit. You don't want to work too much because essentially, Capricorn, Jupiter in your sixth might expand your work. It might improve your health. But if it's expanding your work, you want to make sure that you're not taking off more than you can chew, right? And you want to prioritize your health. Your health is your wealth, Capricorn. So keep that in mind. So definitely look toward your health routines to make the most of this transit, service or opportunities, Workplace organization. How can you organize your work life so it's really streamlined and efficient? And also volunteer work. That could be extremely enriching for you. And Aquarius. Well, Aquarius, this is very nice for you, especially with Pluto in your sign. That's going to be bumping up, actually, making a beautiful trine to Jupiter in Gemini in its early degrees, as well as Venus. So you're going to be very, very creative. You're going to be very Leo, right? Because the fifth house actually rules Leo. And it's a great time for you to have a lot of fun and to do what lights you up. So expect a surge over the next year in creative output and romantic encounters. You may be a hit and run lover over the next year. The fifth house is more about flings, affairs, as opposed to long-term commitments. However, you could be very lucky, especially with Jupiter in this area of your chart, as well as Venus, for a little bit, end of May. You could be, you could find somebody that you have a lot of fun with that also becomes a partner, which is ideal, right? But focus on dating as opposed to putting a ring on it. Embrace artistic projects. That could be really good. And new love interests. I mean, the fifth house does have its place, and it is the house of true love. You just want to make sure you're looking closely when choosing a partner, because the fifth house, again, is not very far-sighted, and it can get caught up in the moment and, you know, elope in Vegas or something like that, which might not be advantageous to you. So beware of Jupiter's flair for drama. I would watch out for that. You don't want to, you know, make a big show about things if it's not necessary. Again, think about your values and what matters to you, and direct your energy accordingly. And focus on genuine expressions. How can you express more of yourself? How can you light yourself up? How can you have fun? He or she who has the most fun wins. And you could be having quite a bit of fun over the next year. So this is going to be a great time for you to focus on creative projects, romance, expressing yourself, self-expression, and also just recreation. The fifth house has to do with things that you really, really love. And if you are looking to have a baby, well, this could be the year for it. This could be the year for it, because your creations are very, very blessed and they could grow. And if you have a creative projects, multiple creative projects, they should flourish as well. And Pisces, last but never least, Jupiter and Gemini will be transiting your fourth house of home and family. So, Casmar, I do wonder, since we don't know your time of birth, if you have Pisces on the fourth house cusp. Because that would make sense, because you're expanding your home. And that's a big thing with Pisces, with Jupiter transiting your fourth house. So you may expect improvements in your home life, domestic bliss. Maybe you're going to settle down to wedded blissful coffee making. That could be nice. Your domestic life is going to be blessed. Family relationships could expand. You may gain through a family member, or you might expand your connection to your family. You might mend fences, right? You may check out your genealogy and become aware of all these relatives that you didn't know you had. You also may engage in home improvements, or you may move. You may move. Every single time Jupiter hit my fourth house, I noticed I moved to a bigger place. So this could be you moving or redecorating, some really good things in terms of home, expanding your home. Family gatherings could be really good and very advantageous. You could gain through family members. Maybe you'll do something with a family member that makes you a lot of money. Or maybe through a family member, you'll meet the love of your life, stuff like that. Just watch out for Jupiter's tendency to expansion, i.e., you might say, we're going to paint this wall over here. Oh, there's cracks in the wall. We might want to fill up that with cork. Oh, geez, well, the cork, that kind of clashes with this. We're going to break down this wall. Before you know it, you have this whole room that is being demolished and destroyed, and so essentially your home improvements could get out of hand, right? Also, I would say if you are wanting to have babies, well, you could get a lot more than you bargained for, right? Because this could expand your home. You could have triplets, right? Or twins, right? But there's a lot of blessings in terms of home. It's a wonderful time for you to improve your home life, your actual home, or to find a new one. So just watch out for too much expansion. I also would say with the 4th house, Pisces, with Jupiter there, it's a very emotional house. So you might experience a lot more emotions. You may feel a desire to really be comfortable and cozy, and that's great, but you also want to get out there and enjoy the world too. So family relations will be very advantageous for you. Home improvements, even moving. You may expand your emotional support and really deepen your sense of emotional security and domestic stability, as well as domestic bliss. So I think this is a time for you to find a lot of peace, love, and harmony on the home front, which is great. And I think we did it, folks. We did it. We went through all 12 signs. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap up, or anything you want to talk about before I close up shop here? And just so you know, I am Joshua the Psychic, and I do readings, coaching, classes, etc. All of my information is on my website, psychicsun.com. Who has the most fun wins? Yes, that is very, very true. Keep that top of mind. For those of you who watch me regularly, as you know, tomorrow is This Week Astrology at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I hope to see you there. I do This Week Astrology every single Friday at 1 p.m. We talk about the week ahead and how you can make the most of it. And of course, every week we do Thursday Night Light. So join me back here next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we'll talk about something else. In fact, we're going to be talking about the next lunation, which is the full moon in Sagittarius. So thanks all so much for joining. Oh, you're writing music? I love that, Sin. That's great. Thank you, Casmar, by the way. I appreciate all your super chats. Thank you. And yes, we'll see you tomorrow. And good night, Sin. Take care, everybody, and enjoy Jupiter's transit in Gemini. Bye-bye.